So it looks like Donald Trump is storming out of yet another 60 Minutes interview, just like he did in 2020. Now, this time I guess is metaphorically speaking, but here is the breaking news. Donald Trump has pulled out of his upcoming interview on the 60 Minutes election special, meaning that Vice President Kamala Harris will now be the only candidate participating. That's right, folks. Donald Trump is running scared. Here is the programming note from 60 Minutes. They say, quote, 60 Minutes is scheduled to air a primetime election special on a Monday edition of the broadcast on October 7th at 8 p.m. For over a half a century, 60 Minutes has invited the Democratic and Republican tickets to appear on our broadcast as Americans head to the polls. This year, both the Harris and Trump campaigns agreed to sit down with 60 Minutes. Vice President Harris will speak with correspondent Bill Whitaker after initially accepting 60 Minutes' request for an interview with Scott Pelley. Former President Trump's campaign has decided not to participate. Pelley will address this Monday evening. Our election special will broadcast the Harris interview on Monday as planned. Our original invitation to Trump to be interviewed on 60 Minutes still stands. Donald Trump throwing away a 50-year plus tradition for the candidates after originally accepting. As some people write on Twitter, like Nadine Babu, half a century tradition gone. Trump is so scared. Roland Martin notes, so Kamala Harris has agreed to a 60 Minutes interview, but weak, scared, and impotent Donald Trump pulls out. What a weasel. Angry staffer writes, Donald Trump is scared to do a 60 Minutes interview, scared to debate Kamala Harris again, too afraid to be president. As a reminder, Trump accepted the 60 Minutes interview first, and it seems like his campaign decided to pull out at the last minute here. I think Donald Trump's campaign is terrified of a repeat of what happened in 2020. Do you all remember when Donald Trump stormed out of his interview with Leslie Stahl because he was asked the simplest of questions? Remember this?
We were scheduled to take a walk with the president around the White House grounds.
I've got a lot of questions I didn't ask.
And by the way, Trump's then press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany, who, by the way, now Donald Trump demeans and calls milquetoast and a bunch of other nasty nicknames. Kayleigh McEnany had given Leslie Stahl this really large book filled with papers saying it was Trump's healthcare plan, but there was no healthcare plan to be found in the book. And by the way, here we are years later, and Donald Trump still has no plan, not even a, quote, concept of a plan. I mean, that interview with 60 Minutes back then was a complete train wreck. And I think as we watched some of those clips, we could see why Donald Trump's handlers did not want him to go back on. I mean, he was asked really simple questions, like he was asked about going out on the campaign trail and demanding that his political opponents be locked up. We all know the Donald Trump phrase, lock her up. Donald Trump during this interview denied that he said it. Watch.
You don't want to lock up Governor Whitmer, but you want
When
to
did I
lock
say
up
lock her up? I never
the
said.
Bidens. You want to lock
Wait a minute.
up
When did I say
Obama.
lock her up?
You got to get your governor to open up your state, okay? Lock them all up.
When did I say lock up the governor? I didn't say lock up the governor.
All right.
Lock them all up.
Why would I lock her up? No, but why did you say you don't want to lock up the governor? Of course I don't want to lock her up.
Lock them all up.
Why would I lock her
Because
up?
you were in front of a rally of people saying it, encouraging it.
I never said it, Leslie.
Lock them all up.
Leslie, it's such a vicious thing you just said. I never said lock up the governor of Michigan. I would never say that. Why would I say that?
Lock them all up.
So we had put together that video back in 2020 here at MeidasTouch, and we also made this video showing another moment from the interview with 60 Minutes where Donald Trump was asked about his pleas to suburban women that he still makes to this day also, where he goes, "Suburban women, will you please love me? Will you please love me, suburban women?" Trump was asked about this, and once again, he could not handle it and he freaked out. Remember this?
You said the other day to suburban women, will you please like me, please?
Oh, I didn't say that. You know, that's so misleading the way.
Suburban women, will you please like me?
I say jokingly, suburban women, you should love me.
Suburban women, please vote for me.
The way you have it, it's like, oh, like I'm begging.
Will you please like me? Remember? Please. Please.
And And just to show you that Donald Trump is still saying this, here was Donald Trump speaking about suburban women and saying that they love him just a couple weeks ago. I mean, this is kind of sad.
The suburbs were safe. That's why when they say suburban women maybe don't like Trump, I think they're wrong. I think they love me. I do. I never had problems with women. I never had any problems.
Fall can be a stressful season, and stress leads to feeling drained. So to maintain your energy levels and a heart-healthy routine, it's best to avoid relying on stimulants. Superbeats Heart Chews offers a convenient, delicious, plant-based way to support healthy blood pressure and circulation. Enjoy a heart-healthy boost without the jitters. Paired with a healthy lifestyle, the unique antioxidant compound in Superbeats is clinically shown to be nearly 2 times more effective at promoting normal blood pressure than a healthy lifestyle alone. Superbeats Heart Chews are incredibly delicious and so much better than any alternative supplements out there. I take my Superbeats Heart Chews each morning, and it's really kickstarted my morning routine. So after taking my Superbeat Heart Chews, I feel like I have more energy and am ready to take on the day. Here's something. More doctors, more pharmacists, and more cardiologists recommend Superbeats for heart health support than any other beet brand. Superbeats Heart Chews also offers a convenient way to support healthy blood pressure since they're individually wrapped, so you can take them on the go. Double your potential with Superbeats Heart Chews. Get a free 30-day supply of Superbeats Heart Chews on all bundles and 15% off your first order by going to getsuperbeats.com and using the code Meidas. That's getsuperbeats.com and use the code Meidas. One more time, getsuperbeats.com and use the code Meidas, M-E-I-D-A-S.
And when Donald Trump actually did answer questions during that disastrous 60 Minutes interview, he would say basically that he would want to take away people's health care. I mean, watch this horrific moment.
If the Supreme Court ends this Obamacare,
Well, we'll have to see what happens. It's got a ways to go. I mean, we'll see what happens. I think it'll end. I hope that they end it. It'll be so good if they end it.
And honestly, let's face it, Donald Trump is scared. I think that ABC debate a few weeks ago against Vice President Harris is still in his head, and also all of his other interactions that he had with like real journalists throughout this election cycle, because he lies so much about like quite literally everything that when he gets fact-checked on even the smallest things, he freaks out and he demands that people be prosecuted. I mean, Donald Trump was livid even just at this moment when he was fact-checked on his outrageous and false disgusting claims about abortion. Remember this?
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response.
And by the way, this isn't just me saying like off the top of my head that I think Donald Trump is afraid of being fact-checked. His own campaign spokespeople are saying that. Let's pull up Stephen Chung's statement, who calls 60 Minutes' statement fake news. Steve Chung writes, "Fake news, 60 Minutes begged for an interview even after they were caught lying about Hunter Biden's laptop back in 2020. There were initial discussions, but nothing was ever scheduled or locked in." It's a lie. He then goes, "They also insisted on doing live fact-checking, which is unprecedented." I mean, I just showed you some of the clips from the last interview. And like, have you ever heard of an interview before? Like, interviews aren't one-way streets. Interviews are you answer questions and you get pressed on the issues. That's the point of doing an interview. An interview isn't going on Sean Hannity's show and just being able to spout your BS unchecked. So Donald Trump is just absolutely petrified. And by the way, we saw these same excuses. Remember Donald Trump when he was late for that event with the National Association of Black Journalists from a couple months back? Donald Trump refused to go on the stage because they said that they would fact check him if he lied. That's the job of a journalist, right? But Donald Trump refused to go on stage. He ended up being something like 30 minutes to an hour late for that event. And then he ended up blaming it on the technologies, saying, oh, they had issues. They had technical issues. Not true. Donald Trump was just too afraid, and that's exactly what is happening right now. And Trump has not stopped crying about those fact checks ever since the debate. I mean, he's still demanding apologies from ABC. Here he was slurring his words just a few days ago, saying that he needs an apology, or he couldn't really speak. He was demanding an apology from ABC because he lost the debate. Watch.
And I haven't gotten an apology. I want an apology from ABC.
And Donald Trump keeps posting and going on his propaganda networks, demanding that ABC be criminally investigated and that the federal government strip them of their broadcast license. Here he was on Fox.
And a Democratic pollster is calling for an investigation of ABC and the moderators. He wants the communications pulled to see if they were talking to each other because of the fact check on you and none on them and the questions and topics. Do you join in those questions?
Sure, I do. I think they should be investigated. And, they have to get a license from the federal government.
And in recent weeks, Donald Trump has been at his rallies, instead of speaking about, issues that will help people and improve people's lives, he's been calling ABC stupid and saying that the moderators should be fired. Watch this.
Never going to let that happen. We can't let that happen again. But when they had exit polls, 2016, and they said, oh, he's getting killed in the exit polls. And I remember NBC and that stupid ABC that did this horrible debate. Those two people should be fired as an anchor. A couple of more years, they'll be fired. And she was nasty. She looked at me with hatred in her eyes. And him, he's a nice guy. I mean, they were told to do it by George Slobodanopoulos, who's in the group, right?
And you know what? I kind of understand why Donald Trump's handlers don't want him to appear in front of real journalists on 60 Minutes, because even when Donald Trump is in front of his propagandists, like at Fox, it's a complete disaster. Like, watch this train wreck where he talks about abortion rights, and calls it that women thing, just dismisses the whole thing and the whole problem. Watch.
And so the women thing, I did a great thing long term, and I think they'll understand, on the Roe v. Wade. I did a great thing. And so the women thing, I did a great thing, and I think they'll understand. And I think they'll understand.
And then at recent rallies, Trump has become just very distracted by things. Like the other day, he was in Wisconsin and a fly was flying around him, and he was just completely befuddled and confused. And his brain kind of ended up turning it into this, I think, a weird anti-immigrant rant. This whole thing was bizarre. Watch this.
Remember, there's a hat that's made that sells like crazy. Oh, there's a fly. Oh, I wonder where the fly came from. See, 2 years ago, I wouldn't have had a fly up here. You're changing rapidly, but we can't take it any longer. It takes...
Yeah, I mean, he's low energy, he's confused, the whole thing is bizarre. And like, here are comments he made Tuesday in Wisconsin, where he was speaking about Manhattan and saying that they want to rip down all the buildings and replace them with buildings with no windows, and just rambling on, about the things that people in Wisconsin care about. Just so weird. Watch.
And again, we have more of it. We don't even use it. We don't even go for it. They don't let us take it out environmentally, They spend all their time and energy on the Green New Scam. Do you ever know, though, they don't talk about that anymore? When was the last time you heard about the Green New Scam? They don't talk about it. You know why? Because it doesn't work. They wanted $93 trillion. The ultimate plan was $93 trillion. They wanted to rip down all the buildings in Manhattan, those gorgeous buildings with those big, beautiful windows, and they wanted to rebuild them without windows, because without windows is more energy efficient. Tell somebody you're going to take 40,000 feet of office space, but you have no windows. This is what they want. These people are crazy. They're crazy. Take a look at some of them are actually, you got to see the bathrooms that they project for people. I can't talk to you about it because it's so gross, but basically water-free bathrooms, water-free, no water. This is not good, but these people are crazy.
And when Trump was in Michigan recently, he complained about having to pay workers overtime. Let me just remind everybody right now that part of Trump's Project 2025, one of the major initiatives is to remove overtime pay. So when you hear Donald Trump speak about, there's not going to be any tax on overtime if I am president, he's saying that because he intends for there to be no overtime if he becomes president. Watch this.
And boy, this is good for you because I know exactly where you make your money. I used to have to pay that damn overtime. It would cost a fortune.
Are you seeing it? Are you seeing why his handlers don't want him to actually face any real questions? So then Donald Trump in Milwaukee, he was talking about Hurricane Helene, and this is something he's been saying now every day. He was saying this is such a big hurricane, but it's very late in the season, very unusual. It's not. It's smack dab in the middle of hurricane season, and anybody with half a brain cell should know that, but look who we're dealing with here. Watch.
Amazingly, this is one of the biggest hurricanes anyone's ever seen. You know, it's late in the season, very unusual. I guess the water was 20 feet high, and nobody expects that. People go up to their house and they think they're safe on the second floor, and they weren't safe.
And the truth is, we need leaders who are able to confront our most serious problems and acknowledge the realities of these situations. Like, you all remember with COVID, Donald Trump called it a hoax. He denied it. He said it would never come to our shores, that everyone would be okay. That was all a lie. We all saw the devastation that came from that. Donald Trump, he approaches climate the same way. He says it's a hoax. He says it doesn't exist. He says these storms aren't going to affect you. Meanwhile, deaths happen. Donald Trump calls it a little storm, and he says, oh, this is unusual. Nobody could have seen it coming. Actually, a lot of people could see it coming. Actually, the experts have been sounding the alarm on these sorts of things for years. But you, Donald, you continue to ignore it. And that's what makes you so dangerous, because you ignore the facts and you try to create your own reality, and you are terrified when you are confronted with even the slightest bit of the truth. You crumble and you run away. But you know who's not running away? Vice President Kamala Harris. And I think she's going to completely outclass Donald Trump during the 60 Minutes interview, because she is going to be there and she is going to answer the tough questions, and she is going to make her case as to why she should be the next president of the United States. And Kamala Harris has been bringing her message. She's not ranting and raving about flies and New York buildings without windows and all the weird stuff that Donald Trump is rambling about. She's going to swing states and actually speaking about the issues that Americans care about. Like recently, for example, Vice President Kamala Harris was in Arizona, and she was speaking about the border security bill that she and President Biden and the conservative members of the Republican Party in the Senate had worked on. Donald Trump tanked it for his own election chances. Here's something that Vice President Harris could speak about with clarity. It's a tough issue, but it's one that demands attention. She could talk about this with the facts, and Donald Trump wants to run away from the facts because the truth is that he killed this bill. Watch this.
Last December, I helped raise the rate of overtime pay for border agents, and also why I strongly supported the comprehensive border security bill. Written last year, as you know, by a bipartisan group of senators, including one of the most conservative members of the United States Congress. That bill would have hired 1,500 more border agents and officers. It would have paid for 100 inspection machines to detect fentanyl that is killing tens of thousands of Americans every year. It would have allowed us to more quickly and effectively remove those who come here illegally, and it would have increased the number of immigration judges and asylum officers. It was the strongest border security bill we have seen in decades. It was endorsed by the Border Patrol Union. And it should be in effect today, producing results in real time right now for our country. But Donald Trump tanked it. He picked up the phone and called some friends in Congress and said, stop the bill. Because you see, he prefers to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And the American people deserve a president who cares more about border security than playing political games and their personal political future. And so even though Donald Trump tried to sabotage the border security bill, it is my pledge to you that as President of the United States, I will bring it back up and proudly sign it into law.
So I think you could see why Donald Trump is afraid to be on the same show as her once again, because Vice President Kamala Harris will once again run circles around him. And I would say that she would make him look like a fool, but he does that to himself just enough. And I know Donald Trump's handlers are absolutely scared of having him out there. They're absolutely terrified of him actually facing even the slightest bit of scrutiny, because Donald Trump's lies are so outrageous that they crumble even with the slightest bit of questioning like he would have received on 60 Minutes. But you know what? Now Vice President Harris is going to have a massive audience, the show to herself, and I think that will be a powerful moment where she gets to deliver her message to the American people without Donald Trump's nonsense. Hey, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. My name is Brett Meiselas here with the MeidasTouch Network. Remember to hit subscribe. We're on our way to 3.5 million subscribers, but we can't do that without you. Also, if you could do me this one favor, go check your favorite podcast apps, whether it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify, whatever you use. Search for the MeidasTouch podcast, add our show, and if you have a second, give us a 5-star review. That really helps. All right. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in a bit.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.